Welcome, everybody. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get started and get signed in. I am actually flying solo. My amazing partner, Dan Bissick, is in Washington, D.C. for a higher education conference today. So I'm going to do the best I can to help you out and answer lots of questions today. I see some familiar names coming in and logging in, so appreciate that. As you log in, if you'd like to throw in to the chat where you're at and how old your student is or what grade they're in, that'll help me give me some context, and looking forward to answering a lot of questions tonight. The most important thing is, all your general questions, I'll do my best to answer on the fly, on the spot. If it's very specific to, anything unique or specific to your situation where I may need more information or, feel uncomfortable answering it without, more information, I'll ask you to go ahead and sign up for an hour with one of our pros. There'll be a number of things that, we may need to find out more to give you good advice. We also have our disclaimer up here. We're not giving tax, legal, or investment advice. We're solely giving advice on how to pay less for college. If anything comes up that you have further questions about, we'd encourage you to consult a legal advisor, a tax attorney, or your financial advisor. So with that, I can already see we're getting some hey, Rinda, welcome. Great to see you. Thank you. Incoming high school senior, Pennsylvania, 2023. Starting college in the fall. So we have a little bit of everything. I see we have our first question coming into the Q&A. Again, please submit all your questions through Q&A, not the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. And look forward to getting this started. So the first one, I'm a co-signer on the home mortgage, but my name is not listed on title or ownership. I will be the one who files the FAFSA for 24-25. Would you like me to mention that I own a home in CSS or FAFSA application? All right, so I'm a co-signer on the home mortgage, but my name is not listed in the title or the ownership. If you're listed on the mortgage, I suspect it's going to be that you're going to need to disclose that. I will look into that a little bit more and see if I can figure out any specifics when you're not listed on the title or ownership. That is a good question. I haven't had that one come up again. My gut instinct tells me that you will need to disclose it. But again, that's my gut instinct. So I'll try and find that out and follow up on either another webinar or by the end of this session. All right. If my high schooler graduates with an associate's degree, should we stay in the same state in order to get more credits accepted? That's going to be really on a case-by-case basis. Every school is going to treat the credits that you're getting differently. I'd encourage you to create a broad and diverse school list and reach out to them and ask how those associate's degree or those additional credits are treated at that school. I think you'll find that it's a pretty broad set of answers, and it will not be uniform across each school. So, I would encourage you to create a broad list and reach out to them directly to see how each school is going to treat that. Any updates on the timing of the new FAFSA? Good evening. So the last I have heard that they're shooting for December or January. So it's moving from October to later in the year, December or January. We realize that's going to create a lot of challenges with different schools. I live here in Houston. Texas schools have a priority deadline of, I believe, January 15th. So it could create a lot of challenges and it could be subject to change. They are making a lot of updates based on the changes to the FAFSA, and I think they'll continue to update us on that. But as of right now, I'd shoot for December and January. All right. Is there one common place where it posts most deadlines for the FAFSA, CSS, college apps, etc.? Unfortunately, no, there is not a great single site for all your deadlines. Schools have different deadlines, states have different deadlines for the FAFSA. You're going to need to, check each school individually and each state individually for those deadlines. I wish there was a single place. However, again, every school has their own business model and treats things differently. You never want to miss a deadline, and it's best to check with each school individually. All right, my son's college, Dartmouth, offers the opportunity to pay all 4 years tuition up front, thus avoiding tuition increases. I'm thinking of paying this up front from 529 plans. Are you aware of any problems with this? Our friends did this with WashU and they were happy with their decision. I think that's a great question. I work full-time as a financial advisor, and I tell people all the time that financial planning or personal finance is 80% personal and 20% finance. So on the plus side, you might be saving on some tuition increases or some inflation, and that would be a good thing, right? However, on the other side, if your son happens to transfer out of Dartmouth, I don't know exactly what the consequences of that transfer would be, how they refund that money. Are there any penalties or interest? Would they pay you interest back on the money that could have been invested in the 529? So I think that's mostly a personal question based on how good a fit you think that school is for your student, how high the likelihood is he's going to complete there in 4 years. And if you have, enough money in the 529 to pay the entire bill. So there's a lot of questions, but mostly they're personal. There is a little bit of math in there, but in this case, I think the questions outweigh, what the savings might be if you have any uncertainty. Hope that helps. All right. If my student is awarded scholarships, who is responsible to pay taxes on that, or is that money taxed? So if the scholarship is for tuition only, typically there's not going to be any tax on that. If it covers room and board and some other things, there could potentially be tax on that. So really it's going to depend on the amount of scholarship in relation to the cost of attendance and the expenses that you're paying. So that's kind of a broad answer, but you would need to we would need to see kind of what how much the scholarship is and what you ultimately pay before we could tell you what the tax is. An accountant will be your best bet on that one. They'll tell you which documents they need and be able to tell you if any tax is due. All right. Parent Plus loan. Does the parent submit the loan or the student? Is it limited to $5,500 for 2023? So, it sounds like to me you're confusing the federal direct student loan and the Parent Plus loan. Those are two separate loans. You are correct in the fact that the federal direct student loan is typically $5,500 for 2023, and that would be in the student's name. The Parent Plus loan, as the name implies, is in the parent's name and can typically be up to the full cost of attendance. So those are two different loans. They have different interest rates. They have different origination fees. So the total cost of those loans is different, and they're ultimately in different names. I hope that helps. I have excellent credit. A 529 will cover my son's first 2 years of college costs after scholarships have been applied, but recently became unemployed. What kind of loan do you advise I'm willing to co-sign to take? That's a very broad question. And again, as a financial advisor working in personal finance, it's going to be about 80% personal, 20% finance. Typically, the order of operations for looking at loans would be federal direct student loans in the student's name. Those are ones that will ultimately, if forgiven, be the first to be forgiven. The interest rates are typically the lowest. So those are where I would encourage you to start. After that, you would look at the Parent Plus loan, which is a federal loan. You would want to look at that interest rate and the origination fees. Then you could look at state loans, depending on what state you're in, see what they offer. And then finally, the last two options would be private loans through things like SoFi or Discover or Sallie Mae. And then the last choice would be things like home equity or 401k loans. So that's kind of a general order of operations to consider. But again, a lot of those loans are going to look for you to kind of apply before they tell you the rate. And there's some labor and steps you have to walk through to get that. So hopefully that helps and gives you an idea. And you can move forward with that and consider those different types of loans. All right, I see somebody has raised a hand in the chat. Oh, Miss Renda. I'm going to allow Renda to talk real quick and see if she's open to it. Renda, can you hear me? You're on mute.
Hey, Chuck. I'm Renda, another one of Chuck's colleagues helping out at College Aid Pro. Happened to be able to join this meeting, so I just wanted to add one thing to the question that you just mentioned about being able to cover the first 2 years with your 529 money and then needing potentially loans or some other way to cover the last 2 years. If you know you're going to need more money, you should really consider go ahead and taking the amount you can in the federal direct student loans, even the first 2 years, because that's there's only a certain amount you can take every year. And so that will help you cover more of that gap if you go ahead and start taking the federal direct student loan years 1 and 2, as well as 3 and 4.
Absolutely. Renda, thank you so much for raising your hand and chiming in on that. I clearly read the question a little too fast, but yeah, you'll always, if you're going to run out of money, you always want to consider those all 4 years of the federal direct student loans. They're typically the lowest rate and they are use it or lose it. So Brenda's saving the day. Thank you.
No problem.
You want to stay on the rest of the call and chime in? I'd love to have you.
Sure, no problem.
Awesome. All right. How does the disability pension factor into FAFSA? I guess the simplest way I would describe it is if that disability pension rolls down to your adjusted gross income, AGI, then it will have an impact on the FAFSA. If it does not roll down to your AGI, it will not. Brenda, any other comments on that? I mean, without knowing more about the pension, that's the simplest way I'd explain it.
Yeah, I think you got it there, Chuck.
All right. What is the CSS and how does the new FAFSA date affect it? Okay, so the CSS profile is an application for financial aid that a large number of private schools use. The FAFSA date does not affect the CSS profile that I'm aware of yet. So you'll be able to complete that most likely in October unless something changes that I'm unaware of. And it will only need to be completed depending on what schools you are going to. So let me, I'll stop sharing this disclaimer. And if you give me a second, I'll bring up a website that you can look at. Let me try and share the screen again. Can you guys see this? I'm hoping it's showing the CSS profile College Board site with the participating institutions and programs. It's important to know a few things. So these are the schools that use the CSS profile. And one of the most important things will be this column here, second to the last, CSS non-custodial parent. That school, that's how that school treats whether or not a divorced family will include the custodial parent, the non-custodial parent, or both. So this is the list you can see to determine if you're going to need the CSS profile, and depending on your marriage situation, whose income is going to be assessed. So I hope that's helpful. All right, Q&A. An incoming senior doing a summer job for the first time, student asset count is at 20%. Does that impact the FAFSA? I don't think income will be significant. Is it better to volunteer to avoid an increase in FAFSA? So I apologize. I have a lot of numbers floating around in my head, but there is an income limit that your students can earn up to that won't affect the FAFSA. I want to say it's around $6,000, but please don't quote me on that. I'm happy to try and look that up if we run down or slow down on questions later. But I think it's about $6,000 on income. The asset count. Brenda, do you know if there's a asset forgiveness for the students as well, and what that number is?
I'm looking those up right now.
Awesome. Thank you. But no, I don't think it's necessarily better to volunteer to avoid an increase in FAFSA. I think if it's a typical summer job, they're spending most of that money over the summer, and it's not, in a savings account when they complete the FAFSA. I don't think it makes a difference. I think it's great for students to work. I think it gives them life experience. I think it's things that could go on resumes and essays. So, that's just my opinion. And hopefully if Brenda tracks that down, she can throw it in the chat, and I'd really appreciate it. All right, so if my child isn't applying to those colleges, then we don't need the CSS profile. Yes, when you pick your school list, you should be able to determine from that school, is it only FAFSA or is it FAFSA and CSS profile? But if it's not on that list, it's unlikely that you would need to there's no reason you would need to complete the CSS profile. All right. Is the student unsubsidized loan guaranteed for each student regardless of need or EFC? Yes, so any student who completes the FAFSA, can get the federal direct student loan. That's correct. So that's regardless of need or EFC. All right, and we have somebody check in or chimed in for me. $8,602 is the child income shelter for 23-24, I believe. So again, not 100% certain, but that's in line with the number I was thinking of. So it's a good benchmark for everybody to think about. All right. So I kind of rolled through a bunch of questions really quick. I didn't take much time to start and talk about the software and some of the other presentations that are coming, but I'd encourage everybody. I'm assuming that you have a subscription to MyCap already, as you've made it here to College Aid Pro office hours. So you can always go to the CAP website and look for upcoming events. I know some of our peers, Matt and Peggy, will be doing some presentations here on how to pay or the mechanics of how to pay. So on that loan topic, that will be one that gets covered in there that will be very valuable. And then again, people will already be starting to think about the Common App coming in August and getting ready for, ACT and SAT tests. So there's lots to come, and we always have information about that on our blog and on our upcoming events page. All right, so we got another question in. Should the student or parent be reimbursed for eligible expenses from a 529 plan? Doesn't make a difference. Told it was simpler in most cases for the students since tax return is very simple. In general, I suggest people work with the school to try and have the 529 submit the payment directly to the institution. I think that's typically easiest. Everybody, again, personal finance, 80% personal, 20% finance. You can work it however you want, but when potentially possible, I'd have the 529, pay the check straight to the institution. What is the Common App? All right, the Common App is an application that can be used to apply to multiple schools at one time. I'll bring it up real quick and show you guys. Share screen. All right. So hopefully you can see this. This is the Common App. And you can go to find a college, and you can see here there's 1,033 colleges found. So it's an application that multiple schools use and allow you to apply. It has a common set of 7 essay prompts. Now each school could have additional prompts, each unique programs could have additional prompts, but the Common App is a common way to apply for admission into a school. And you're welcome. All right. So fast and furious, we went through some questions, but I'll stay here and give you guys more opportunity to chime in with things. No, the Common App is not part of College Aid Pro in any way. That is just for admissions into college. We do have some pros that will help complete, the help with the application and certain things like that. However, a majority of the pros will only help with the financial aspects of applying for college and paying less. So there are a few of us. Dan Bissick, my normal Monday night co-presenter. Brenda, do you know who the other ones are that are doing more of the full deal, if you will?
I wouldn't want to list names because I might not.
That's how I am. I know there's a couple, and I think they are segregated out or have a like an asterisk to let you know who they are. So, but if that's something you'd like additional help with, you can shoot a note to support a College Aid Pro, and an appropriate person will contact you. What is the student loan process like these days? Basically, I'm probably going to oversimplify this, but I'll do my best I can. So you will complete the FAFSA. Typically, it would be in October. This year, it's going to be later in December or January. Once you've completed that, it will generate an EFC that will help determine your need. At that point, when you apply for schools and submit the FAFSA to the various schools, come March, they will give you an award letter sometime around spring break. You can review that award letter, and it will typically have grants, loans, work study, depending on what you're eligible for and what the school is offering. If you choose acceptance to a given school, in most cases, you'll log into their portal. You'll accept the loans through their portal. You'll have to, there'll be some disclosures and disclaimers and some stuff around the borrowing and making sure you understand that. And then at that point, after you've done that, the school year starts, I believe, July 1st, and you can accept those loans and use them to pay your tuition bill, which typically, start depending on the school and if you're on a payment plan or not, somewhere September or October, August, September, October. So I hope that makes sense and gives you an idea of what that student loan process will be like. So the first and most important step is completing the FAFSA. Can you elaborate on what the 80% personal, 20% finance means? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse anybody. All I'm saying is that the decisions you make in the process are about 80% personal, and that there is some math you can do to see if you're saving some money. But ultimately, if you're looking at the federal direct parent plus, the parent plus loan, and the interest rate on that, and you're looking at a private loan through Sallie Mae or Discover, somebody like that, you'll have to compare those and make a personal decision. Okay, hey, the interest rate on this one's a little bit lower. The interest rate on this one's higher, but it has a lower origination fee. If you want to borrow against your home equity in a HELOC or from a 401k plan, those are all personal decisions that may make the most sense to you. as it relates to how you pay and fund college. Does that, I hope that makes sense. So a lot of times it's more of a personal choice than a financial savings choice potentially. And that's all I was trying to imply. All right, so we have a question that I don't know which one it was referring to, so it's a follow-up. I'm asking because I'm a custodial parent, legally separated parents. Do I have to pay with a savings or checking account or credit card? Do colleges track who pays money for tuition? Again, that's going to be on a case-by-case basis. I don't think most colleges are explicitly tracking who pays and where the payments come from. You know, I don't want to go too far into how each school requires you to pay, but typically most people are paying with a check or a link to their savings account in most cases through a given school's portal. And Renda, feel free to chime in at any time on anything I answer that you'd like to expand on or you think is maybe short-sighted on my answer. You will never hurt my feelings and I'd love your input.
Will do. Thanks.
All right. Since you submit FAFSA every year you are in college, can the college give you aid for a future year that maybe you didn't receive in prior years if your income drops significantly one year to the next? Yeah. So when you complete the FAFSA, that's based on need. It's calculating your need. And if your income changes, your need can obviously change. And so, yes, it wouldn't be uncommon or unexpected to get more or less aid from one year to the next. You get a big promotion at work, you might get less aid the next year. You lose a job and are unemployed for a period of time, you may be eligible for more aid. There's a lot of variables in that, but yes, it definitely could change. And it's only given for 1 year, where merit aid based on your grades or sports or band, some exceptional opportunity or skill, that's typically given for 4 years.
So I'll just add on to that a bit, Chuck, and keep in mind that you're using your prior tax year to report your income to the schools. So let's say you lose a job, but that's not going to show up yet on your FAFSA. That's, you know, a good opportunity for you to reach out to the school and let them know what's happening and see if they're able to work with you to get you a little bit more aid.
That's a great point. I always forget to chime in with the prior year. So the timing of those income changes does have a big effect. So thanks, Renda. Another question on 529. Can you reimburse yourself from your 529 plan this year for eligible expenses incurred last year or the year before? Typically, the plans require the reimbursement to be in the year the expenses were incurred. On something like that, I would just encourage you to check with both. Start with the 529 plan. You know, if you're in Utah and you use their plan, or New York or Ohio, double check with that. But typically, as a rule of thumb, I would say you have to reimburse yourself in the year the expenses are incurred. For students and families that don't qualify for need-based scholarships, but might qualify for merit-based scholarships, will the family's finance affect the merit-based scholarship offered? It's a little bit maybe of a trick question. As a general rule, I would say no. If you're getting a merit award, it's based mostly on your grades or an exceptional ability or talent. However, some schools are need aware and consider your finances in your application and in how they give their aid, but it varies school to school. But the great thing is, you know, if you use the College Aid Pro MyCap software, it's going to give you an idea of what merit aid you should get at a given school. You can dial in and based on your GPA and your test scores, have a very good idea of, you know, what kind of scholarships you might get based on merit. And I'll actually kind of share my screen into MyCap and let you guys look at that. Give me 1 second. So going to share. hopefully everybody can see my screen. So this is my cap. It's a demo account I've made for my daughter is Kinsey. It's not true information. We put in grades, financial information, and the school she's interested in. So at that point, you can click into a school and start to look at the available scholarships. And you will see right here what, SAT or GPA scores you might need to get. And as you go down, you can find in where your student might fit and qualify for those awards. It's a great tool. They have it basically every scholarship for every school. That's not absolute terms, but it's pretty accurate, and you can always, dig in and see. And for those of you that are upcoming seniors and you already have your school list, I can't stress how important and how valuable this tool can be. You can look at these. Let's go back and look at LSU and go back here. So let's just say, you have, let's go down to here. A 1360 SAT, and you could get a $15,000 scholarship. If you improve that up to, let's go back up and look, 1420, there's a possibility that it could go up to 19,000 a year. So every school has different scholarships, different cutoffs. And if you have your school list in the summer of your junior year, what potentially improvement in a SAT or ACT score could mean an actual dollar saved. Sorry, I need to bring that question up. And that would be a great tool and definitely a reason to invest in this software and look at your school list now and not wait till September, August, October, whenever families start to dive into these things. The sooner you get a jump start, the more likely you are to be able to save yourself some money. Back to dates. With the FAFSA date pushed out and we do the Common App in October. Actually, the Common App is available before October. I believe it's August 1st is the date that you can start on the Common App. When do the colleges usually make the acceptances if we don't know the FAFSA results? Well, that's a great question. So there's a couple things I want to chime in with. Using the MyCap software, you should be able to give yourself a very good idea of what your net cost or your out-of-pocket cost is going to be, right? If you've put in your finances, your students' grades and GPAs and test scores, MyCap's going to give you an estimate of the award the school is going to give you. Acceptances can start, is early. I've seen some as early as January, and then they, typically go all the way through May 1st. Again, FAFSA results typically come in around March or spring break. So your financial aid award letters is what I would call the FAFSA result. Those typically come in March. And yeah, you'll have to wait till you get that to make your decision in a lot of cases if finances are going to be a deciding factor in where you attend. So there is an overlap, and it makes it inconvenient and harder on families on occasion. Some schools have, if you get waitlisted, it makes it more challenging. So there are a lot of variables, but MyCap is a tool that makes it a lot easier to give you an idea if you can financially afford a given school and what your likely award will be, whether it's need-based or merit-based. Well, this is fun, guys. Keep them coming. I hope some of these apply to everybody, and we want to get as many answered as we can. So I'll stay here for a few more minutes while we see if anything rolls in. If anybody has questions on the software, I'm happy to log back into that. Thank you for the kind words coming in through chat. We appreciate it. Is anybody on the call not currently a subscriber to the MyCap software? All right, well, let me go back and share my screen and I'll just do a little bit more of a walkthrough. All right, so I'm going to walk through this and then I'll double back and look for questions if they come in. So when you start with College Aid Pro and you create your sign up, you're automatically given 3 schools for free. So if you said, hey, you know, me personally, I was a Cornhusker. I went to Nebraska where the N stands for knowledge, proud Husker. I want my kids to go there. You know, I could select Nebraska, LSU, and Texas A&M and do that comparison for free. You know, if you decide there's some value in that and you upgrade, when you upgrade to the Scholar version, you get the advanced search. So you can search for schools and see how they will give you know, where you might get merit-based awards, different things like that. But we'll come back to that in just a second. We'll show you the profile. So for MyCap to work, it's super important that your profile be 100% complete. So this is the most important thing to make the software as effective as possible and productive a tool as possible. So I'll just kind of give you, you know, a quick run through. You go in and make sure you put in your parent, guardian information, parent name, student name, number of people in household, the year they're graduating, intended major, class ranks, GPAs, SAT scores, ACT scores, financial information. Obviously, this is just used to kind of as a placeholder to make the software work. You can put in information about your budget, how much you know, a parent will pledge to pay for college, and that will help as the software determines affordability over 1 year and 4 years. So the more information you put in and the better and more accurate the information, the better the output and the better results you're going to get. So from there, once you've logged in and put in your profile and you know the schools you want to look at, you can compare them. It will show you the sticker price and then your net cost. So my daughter, or in this case, my dummy account wasn't good enough to get a merit aid scholarship. So we'd be paying full price at LSU. We get a little bit of a discount at Peru State, which is a small school up in Nebraska. TCU, we get a nice need-based discount. So it does a great job of helping calculate that. But if you wanted to search for schools, to me, this is really the most powerful tool. You can use the advanced search right here, and it gives you the ability to search on a lot of different things. So, you know, any distance, how far does your student want to go away for school? If you're on the East Coast and, you know, you live in the Boston area, you can throw a baseball and probably hit 15 schools. But believe it or not, here in Houston, Texas, I think if you choose up to 200 miles, you really only get potentially, I think, 15 schools that are within 200 miles of Houston. So, you know, different things like that can really impact it. What state do you want to go to in size? And we break it down by small, medium, or large. Is it only a 4-year institution? Any major? So let's just say we want to be a biology major. Any ranking, so we can say just ranked schools, and then we want only schools that will give automatic scholarships based on my GPA and test scores, and then you can search for them and you can start to see, and then we can sort by scholarship money and start to see, you know, who's giving you the most, and you can kind of dive into it and see what your net cost is and what the merit scholarship is at any given school. So it's a great tool. It can help you build your school list if, you know, as income and finances play a role in what you can afford. This is a tool that's going to help you make good, sound financial decisions. Obviously, we do a lot, or the software does a lot to tell you, you know, affordability wise, is it a good fit? Is it caution? Or is it, you know, red flag? Hey, you definitely can't afford this. It's super valuable. And I see a question came in, so I'll bring that up. If you have 2 students in college at the same time, do you need 2 MyCap accounts? I would say that's going to be the best way to do it. You can kind of toggle back and forth and change the information if you wanted to, but for it to be truly effective, especially depending on what years they're in, yes, it's going to be more effective if you have 2 MyCap accounts. How do guardians affect scholarships for students with high GPA, but only median SAT scores? How do guardians affect scholarships? I'm not sure, but basically, what I would say is it's typically on a school by school basis. Certain schools value grades and GPA more than test scores, and some schools value test scores more than GPA. The best way to find that out, so I live here in Houston. In Houston, we have what's called the HARN.org. It's the Houston Area Recruiters Network. So it's recruiters from colleges and universities all over the country that live here in Houston and recruit, in this general area. And you can call them and they'll be at schools for college day and college fairs. But those are people you want to get to know, and you can ask and inquire, hey, does your school value GPA more or test scores more or equal? And on a school by school basis, that will impact how your merit aid is given. Brenda, anything you would add on that by chance? You might be on mute, but
sorry, I'm having trouble getting my cursor in the right screen. I wasn't sure I understood the point about guardians, but I think
I wasn't either, so I kind of glossed over that.
Yeah.
All right. The merit scholarship on my cap is just a suggestion and not automatic, correct? Still need to apply. That's a school by school basis. A lot of automatic scholarships you will get just for applying to attend the school. If it requires an extra application, typically we do tend to try and note that in the line. And when you apply, you can always call the office's admissions and ask for scholarships that you might be eligible for, and if there's any applications required. All right, it looks like another, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just someone else had asked about, filing the FAFSA if you know that you're probably not going to get need-based aid, or I might have dreamed that. Just remember that even if you're pretty sure that, or you're not going to be eligible for need-based aid, but you want to be qualifying for merit scholarships, some schools do require you to file their financial aid forms, even to just have your student be in the running for a merit-based scholarship. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to use your income as a criteria towards whether the student gets a merit-based scholarship. But so before you decide not to file the FAFSA or other financial aid forms, make sure it's not one of those schools that requires it for merit aid.
Yep, great point. Thank you. All right, there's no legal, so this must be another follow-up. I'll do my best here. There is no legal separation between us, but we have separate households. Do you think we have to be legally separated for the 24-25 FAFSA? I heard they won't allow it unless you're legal. Yes, I do believe that is the case. You have to be legally separated in 24-25. I checked with Matt and Peg Zoom about this, and they told me you don't have to be, but I believe that was for a previous year. I think with the new FAFSA changes, you must be legally separated. Yes, I'll leave it there. I just typed on the school search, what does it mean when caution comes up instead of good? So that is an affordability. So I assume you're referring to right here where it says affordability, caution, ideal, good. All of that is going to be based on the assets and income you put into your profile and the dollars you have available to contribute to college. And so you can see here, my budget for 4 years of college is $87,600. Peru State comes in for 4 years at $85,000. So I'm actually have enough to cover the full cost. If you look at Texas A&M, my budget's $87,000. the total 4-year cost is 126,000, and I would need about 40,000 in loans. And the affordability here shows good. And basically what that's saying is based on my first year salary of whatever job or industry I might work on, it's likely that it's higher than that 39,000 and that I would be able to afford or cover the payments on those loans. In general, you can assume that for every $10,000 you borrow, it's going to be about $100, give or take, on your monthly student loan payment. So if you borrow $40,000, your monthly student loan payment will be about $400. And based on your income after you graduate in your chosen field, you'd probably be able to afford that. Once you get to a higher loan amount, excuse me, of 100,000 or 90,000, you know, paying those loan payments becomes a little bit more of a challenge based on that first year salary. So that's why it says caution. So I hope that answers that. All right, so it says this must be a follow-up. Guardians don't fill. Well, no, the FAFSA requires a student and at least one parent. So, but again, the FAFSA is primarily for need-based aid or schools that are going to give merit-based aid. You know, you're typically not going to be, in most cases, not eliminated from getting merit-based aid based on your guardian's income, I think is what you're asking. I'm taking a little bit of liberty interpreting this, but do keep in mind that when you complete the FAFSA, a student and at least one parent must sign that, and there is parent financial information involved. And is the funding gap for 4 years or annually? That is, I believe, 4 years. I'm trying to see where we show that funding gap. Maybe I have to click in. I should have clicked into Peru State because that didn't have a gap. So let's do text. Sorry, I'm not finding the funding gap, and I know it's in here. Maybe. I believe it's for 4 years, but I will continue to look for that and try and answer that again here in a minute. If you're referring to the loans, that is the 4-year loan total. And the search for scholarship link on MyCap, a generalist or based on each college? And the search for, so if it's, when you're searching for the schools, it is each college. There is a, I think if I go to the dashboard, there is a, do you know where that went? There used to be a scholarship search for private.
Looking, where did they put that?
Oh, search for scholarships. So this private is different. So it's below where you put your schools in. So that's going to be, you know, based on private scholarships and organizations where the scholarships listed within a school that you click into is specific to that school. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Looks like I was right, 4 years. Okay. When you do the school search, there, the green button. Got it. Thank you. Okay. Any tax advantage for parents to pay tuition fee from savings accounts instead of taking loans? That's something you would have to consult your accountant on, or a tax attorney. Any advantage to parents to pay tuition, saving accounts, don't take them on. Yeah, I'd encourage you to consult your accountant on that. All right.
I mean, in terms of any tax credits that are out there, the IRS doesn't care how you paid for it. If you incurred costs for college, they don't care if it came from your savings account or if you got a loan to pay for it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. So, and the most common one is going to be the American Opportunity Tax Credit, but you'll need to make sure that your household income has not phased out and that there are some requirements to be able to take advantage of that. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm a little nervous because I was riding solo without Dan, but I'm so excited Renda joined in and helped out. And you know, we'll keep going here and see if we can answer anything else or help out. If there's questions about the software, I'm happy to try and dive into that. If there's questions about kind of our CAP calendar or anything, I'd encourage you to go to the website and look at the blog and the events page. If you haven't signed up for the software, I can't, you know, reiterate what a valuable tool it is for families going through this process. You know, we do this every other Monday. There's different college aid pros joining in from time to time and answering questions. If there was questions that you didn't get answered here, you can go into the Talk to the Expert button and sign up for an hour. And that's a way to really dig into your unique situation and your challenges. And obviously, you know, it gives us an opportunity to get all the information we need to make a kind of informed decision. But your questions were great. This is one of my favorite things to do. And we will, oh, here comes one more. Is there a cutoff of applying to subsidized, unsubsidized loans? So the federal direct student loans and the FAFSA in each state and school do have unique deadlines. You would want to check, you know, with on the FAFSA page for your state specifically, and then make sure you get your school deadline as well. So yeah, there are deadlines, and you need to make sure that you meet them for each individual school. There's not one uniform one. Let's check. What else do we got here? Go Huskers. Oh, thank you. I feel better. Thank you. All right. So it looks like we were reasonably helpful tonight. That's exciting. Let's see. Well, if nothing comes in the next, call it 30 seconds, we'll wrap it up for the night. You know, we hope you join us next Monday, or as you're going through this throughout the school year coming up, or excuse me, every other Monday. So not next Monday. We're here every other Monday, and you know, as the season changes and different topics become more salient or more important, we try to address those topics. All right. Well, Renda, thank you so much. Everybody who joined us, thank you. This will be available for recording. So if you signed up, you'll get a link to the recording and you can go back and look for it. If there are any questions that you don't feel like you got a great answer on, you can send a quick email for support at College Aid Pro for a little more info, and that can make its way to me if I need to research something for you. But other than that, have a great evening, a great summer, and thank you for your time. And thanks again, Renda. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chuck. Bye.